This is On the Overrun, a podcast about cars and the people around them. Join us for a new episode. Alright, we are back, episode number 1, and it has been, I think, more than a year and a half since the last episode was shot and released, also here in Cape Town. But it is so good to be back on the mic, to be in front of the camera and to be with a guest. I love cars, I love people, as stated in the intro video, so this is really what it's all about, and it's really good to be back. Personally, what's been happening in my life, I've completed university and I've started work. That's the reason why it's taken some time to get back in front of the camera, but it's really good to be here. And we are joined by Brad, who is another fellow passionate car lover, someone who has also been seen on the socials in South Africa, especially with DN Spots on YouTube, and also Superden. You might recognize that or have seen some of his content. But that's the man, that's the face behind the photos, so it's really good to have him in front of the camera as well. So I'm going to let him introduce himself in a moment. But I think the most important question to start off this podcast is, are we going Mercedes or are we going BMW?
BMW, easily.
BMW?
Easily.
Okay, well, it's going to be a short podcast then. But Brad, good to have you on.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, massive pleasure.
I've always wanted to do something like this.
Yes, no, don't worry if it goes badly or if the conversation sucks, that's on me. So, but anyway, maybe you'd like to introduce yourself. What do you do? What are you busy with? Maybe chat a bit about DN Spots, about Superden, how that came to be, and yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, I'm Brad. Obviously run Superden and DN Spots, but let's just start at the beginning, I think, because it all started when I was about maybe 12 years old in school. My mom had actually got me some Top Gear Live tickets, because, I mean, back then Top Gear was doing a show in Cape Town. And I must be honest, ever since we went to that event, I mean, it opened my eyes into the car world. It opened my eyes to, you know, what's available, what you can see, what you can experience. So that honestly really opened up my eyes, because ever since that event, I mean, I kept watching, you know, all the Top Gears since then. And that really gave me a basis to start, you know, learning about cars and getting all the information and whatnot that I needed. But I didn't quite think that that was something that could be done or experienced in South Africa, because I wasn't too sure if there was quite a strong car presence here. So I thought, you know, let me just enjoy, you know, what cars and whatnots, you know, the ones that you see on the streets and whatnot. I mean, if I saw one, it was cool. Didn't think too much about it. But then I thought, hang on, you know, Instagram was just a new thing back then. Hopped onto Instagram, saw all these crazy posts in London, in the US, and all of that. And I'm like, maybe that's an avenue to explore. I wasn't too sure what to call myself or how to go about it or anything like that. But I just knew that I wanted to start something to do with cars. And I thought the first step was social media. So that's when I came up with Superden. I randomly just came up with that name in class with a mate of mine, Ryan, a good mate of mine. He wasn't into cars at the time, but I mean, through what I've done, he's really started to love cars. But yeah, I created Superden in school, and then just decided to go to Sea Point and whatnot, because that's where all the top cars were, and see what I could see and take pictures of and share on social media. So that's essentially what I did in the beginning for Superden, and that exponentially grew as more people were starting to notice and whatnot. But what really blew up for me was when we had an event called Last Line Lifestyle. I don't know if you've heard about that, but that came about in about 2015, I think, 2014. Yeah, I think it was 2014. And that was like the only real event that was happening in Cape Town in terms of cars and driving and breakfast runs and whatnot. So, I mean, I got in contact with the people there. I mean, it's all thanks to a mate of mine, Benji. I mean, he hooked me up with all of that. And that's where it sort of really kicked off, because that event opened up to all the sort of level of exclusivity and sort of supercars and whatnot in Cape Town. I didn't quite know that there was that many around until that point. Yeah, and I mean, been doing that for a couple of years. People were really enjoying that. I mean, my niche is supercars,
Yes.
plain and simple. I mean, I like the classics and whatnot, but supercars is it for me.
Yeah.
But then I thought, you know, after a few years of doing Supercar Den, I got a bit over it, and I achieved what I wanted to achieve, which was just to sort of reach out to an audience and show them, you know, this is what Cape Town has to offer, or what South Africa has to offer. That was my main goal with Supercar Den. I really wanted to showcase, you know, what we had, and I thought I did that, and, you know, been there, done that, and I really wanted to explore onto YouTube, but I didn't know how. And I must be honest, the biggest inspiration to kick off that journey into YouTube was F-Spot. I don't know if you've ever heard of him.
The only thing I don't watch a lot of F-Spot content, but the most memorable content from F-Spot was that S600.
Yes.
I can't remember which generation
exhaust,
it was,
yeah.
but I think it's a guy in Japan. Is it Japan?
Yes, Japan.
He's the only guy in the world that makes it that straight pipe exhaust for specifically that engine, because I think so the S600 had a V12, but that engine later on became the Zonda engine.
Yeah, so I think it went from 6 litre to 7.3, and then that's when it was put into the Zonda. Yeah.
So then what he went and did is he went and made the most insane, like, obviously you would want to say F1 exhaust, but I've not heard a car scream more than that.
Yeah, I know. He's made some epic content with that car.
I just remember the video he posted, this S600, like a very unassuming luxury car, driving through the tunnel at, it could have been 60 kilometers an hour.
Yeah, not very fast at all.
And it doesn't really matter because it was making the most insane sound.
Yeah.
Like not just a raucous, like screaming sound without any character. Like it was almost a V10 era F1 car. So that was insane. But anyway, that's what I remember of F-Spot. So please continue.
No. But I mean, it was all because of him. That is why I started the channel, because he showed me that you don't need specialist equipment to start a YouTube channel. You don't need necessarily a script or anything like that. You can just go out with your phone, film what's in front of you, and just share it.
Yes.
And that really opened up my eyes, and I thought, you know, let's try this. Let's do this.
So are you familiar with Supercars of London?
Yes.
Do you know how his story started?
Yeah.
So he obviously also started with spotting in London.
Yeah, I mean, that's also why I started Supercar Den, was seeing Supercars of London, Scene 3 Glass, Shmee 150, all of those guys.
So I know for Paul from Supercars London specifically, he used YouTube to store his videos that he would make of cars because he didn't have enough space on his phone to actually keep the videos.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so he used YouTube to basically store the videos, and then people actually started watching the videos.
Okay. All right.
And now he's pretty much one of the biggest car YouTubers in the game. So
yeah, and I mean, they're still going strong to this day.
Even if you look at Shmee, so I'm not going to lie, he's not my favorite one, but maybe just because of how irritating his intro is.
Yeah, I get that.
Like, hi guys, I'm Shmee. It's maybe not the most.
But the thing is with Shmee is that he's so methodical.
Yes.
Everything he does is for a reason.
You wouldn't think it. Like when you watch his videos, you're like, okay, this guy doesn't edit his videos. He's a bit lazy with that. Like, he could have done a bit better with, I don't know, scripting or putting it together. But when you hear him speak about YouTube and his content on other people's videos, this guy knows precisely what he's doing.
Yeah.
He's so particular.
He's calculated.
He's so calculated. Well, I think that's part of his background as well. But literally, like, people would ask him, why don't you just try and, like, at least improve let's call it the cinematics of your video, make it a bit more, like, enjoyable to watch. And he's like, my audience does not care. Because they see on the video, like, 15 Bugattis chasing each other in Italy.
Yeah.
They're not going to watch it because of the quality of his content. They're going to watch it to see the 15 Bugattis chasing each other in Italy.
Yeah, exactly.
So he doesn't care if his intro is the same. He doesn't care if, like, the editing is super simple and just cuts from one scene to another. And now look at him, like, years along the line.
Stronger than ever.
He's doing pretty well for himself. But I think a lot of it comes and with YouTube especially, I'm no expert. Please don't take it like please don't take my word so seriously. But I think it's just about time in the market. Like, a lot of those guys have been in it for 10 years, 15 years. And obviously, we are yet to see where the expiry date comes in for certain guys, but it's literally just time. Like, it took years for some people to actually get proper views, and then it continues to build. And then obviously the content increases from there. But
sometimes it'll take a dip after that as well. I mean, it all depends if you're relevant, you know, or if you're doing relevant content, which is very difficult on YouTube. Very, very difficult.
And it's also, it takes a better way of that authenticity. Like, often what I like to watch on YouTube when it comes to car content is people who are, I know it's difficult to say someone is 100% authentic when they're in front of a camera. Like, I don't think that's the case. But if I see someone, or if I watch a certain YouTuber for a few years and I see the personality in front of the camera or something changes to sort of fit a certain audience or niche or something, like, I don't know, that bothers me a bit. So I'd like to see someone stay who they are with the same sort of, you know, childish passion for cars or whatever, and not just become like something commercial or someone that just pumps out content for the sake of it. And
the only person that I know of that is like that is Seen Through Glass, Sam.
Yes.
He's the only person like that. He is, as he is in his videos, he is in real life.
Yes.
There's no need to hide or be this person that you're not, or he's truly authentic.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've met him a few times, and honestly,
I wanted to ask, because he does come to South Africa, he does come to Cape Town now and then.
Yeah, I mean, I've met him twice on his 2 trips down here to Cape Town. The first one was when he was, it was actually his first time out here. He just came, I forget why he came down. I don't know if he was filming something.
So he did Drive the World.
Yeah, so that was the second time. Yeah,
so
that was the second time. Yeah.
Okay.
So that was the year after. We met him on Drive the World. He stopped by at another coffee shop, and we just sat down for a coffee and had a chat and whatnot.
Oh, you personally, like with him personally?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I mean, we had a fat chat. He was telling me about all the stories and whatnot that he encountered during Drive the World and all the difficulties he experienced as well. And I mean, honestly, what a truly authentic guy.
That's
really
awesome.
And truly. He's open books. He'll talk to you. He'll be happy to talk to you if you come across him.
Well then.
Shmi 150, on the other hand, is a bit different. You have to catch him in the right moment, because sometimes he just feels a bit overpressured and just doesn't really want all the attention.
Yeah.
So like on 1 or 2 times when I've met him, he just hasn't been in the mood or something like that.
Which is understandable.
It comes with the job.
That guy is constantly crowded.
Yeah, especially with the fan base that he has, which is understandable.
Yes.
But he's also truly a genuine guy. He really is. Tim. Yeah. No, he's a good guy.
But talking about people in London and the UK, you recently had an awesome opportunity to go to the UK for the Silverstone Grand Prix, and like probably one of my favourite motoring events, the Goodwood Festival of Speed.
Yes. Yes.
I'm saying that not as someone who has been there myself, but obviously
just
would love
watching
to go.
it. I mean,
but just watching it and what it is, it's this mass gathering of people around the newest and most awesome cars currently.
And not just watching them sit still, parked up.
No,
watching them fly past you at top end.
And this is like, you know, cars that's been out a few years, legends, classics, F1 cars, resto mods, drift cars,
even imagine.
Rally cars, concept cars, new cars.
It's just an overload of automotive excellence.
But anyway, let me be quiet. I'd love to hear the story, how this came to be, what you experienced, where you were and what you saw.
So I've been watching the Goodwood Festival of Speed for some years now, because it is obviously one of the biggest motoring events in the world.
Yes.
And we were just sitting in my mate's bedroom, Anakin, and because we always gather to watch it, because it's just a thing that we do. And we were just sitting in his bedroom watching the Goodwood Festival of Speed take place, and we were just thinking, you know, God, we'd like to be there. We'd love to attend that. And then we just, I don't know, something happened, and we were just like, okay, let's try and make this happen. Let's try and make this a reality, because for me personally, it was always a goal to go and do something like that, because, I mean, as we've spoken about already, Supercars of London, Seen Through Glass, Shmi 150, I mean, they all cover those events every single year. So you always get an overload of content from those events whenever it happens, and I like to watch all of it, because
Yes.
always wanted to attend and be
Yes.
there, you know.
You don't really care if you're seeing the same car twice.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
Doesn't
it's just
matter.
cool to watch.
So we thought, you know, we have to make this happen, because if we're not going to make it happen now, when are we going to make it happen? When everything's electric. So we just put our heads down, worked really hard, and we managed to. It was touch and go though. It was touch and go because my first visa got declined, and
that happens.
I had to apply for a second visa with 3 weeks left before we had to leave, because we had already booked our plane tickets and everything. Everything was booked, apart from having the visa. So
This was now 3 weeks.
before we were due to leave.
Okay.
So
Yes, that's cutting
it's cutting it close, because the estimated time for you to get an approval or be denied a visa is 4 weeks. So
4
and I had 3 weeks.
Okay.
So I thought, you know, I'm just going to bite the bullet. I'm going to try one more time, and thank the Lord it happened. We got
Yes.
it on 2 days before. I got my visa 2 days before we were due to leave.
Yes.
So that was very, very touch and go. We weren't sure if we were going or not. We weren't sure what was going to happen, but it luckily all happened the way we were hoping it to. And yeah, we were on our way to London. It was actually Anakin's first plane ride ever. He'd never been on a plane
So
before.
he's never been on a plane.
He's never
now
been
he's
on
going
a plane.
to London.
And now he's going to London, yeah.
Okay.
So that was
Did he
pretty surreal
survive?
for him. Yeah, no, he did. He did well. No, he did
Okay,
really well.
Nice.
So, I mean, it was about a 24-hour journey. We were quite tired when we got there, but as soon as we landed, we went straight into London. We just put our bags down and went straight into London. We didn't even rest. And immediately we were just presented by Bugattis and Aventadors and just
Central
supercars
London is
all over
something
the place.
insane. It's like a moving car dealership.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, we kind of knew what we were expecting, but we didn't at the same time, because we know what London is like. There's just cars everywhere. So that was the first day. We just walked around, had a bit of sightseeing and whatnot. And then the second day, we actually went to Joe Macari's performance
Yes.
cars. So obviously
Yeah.
a dealership that I've seen online.
World famous.
Yeah, a world famous dealership that I've just seen everywhere and always wanted to go and visit. And it actually turned out it was just down the road from where we were staying. So that was technically the first stop that we did while we were there, in terms of cars.
Well, I mean, it sounds like you stayed in central London.
We stayed in Wimbledon, and that was during when
Okay.
the Wimbledon Open was
Yes.
happening.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah, so that was very, very busy
That
then.
could have been a reason why your visas were probably declined, because of a lot of people going over to Wimbledon.
Yeah, because it was also their summertime,
Yes.
so busy time
Yeah.
of year.
But that's very cool. Okay, so you went to Joe Macari's.
Yeah,
But it seems like one of those places where, similar to this, and we haven't even touched on this, but we'll get there. It's like one of those places where you walk in and it's like you don't really believe
what's in
what
front
you're
of you.
seeing.
Yeah,
Like these
it
dream
felt that way.
cars. And like
It felt that way. It really did.
Ferrari, Bugatti. Like, you're sort of just a bit stunned. I don't know. How was your experience?
You almost don't believe it.
Yes.
And sitting here right now, I still don't believe it, if I'm honest with you.
It's like you're speaking about someone else experienced
Yes, exactly.
it. But, no, you
and
were
if I go
actually
back
there.
and watch my video, because I mean, I made videos on everything that we did there, I still think, God, we really did that. We actually did that. It still doesn't feel real to me, but anyways, I mean, we did Joe Macari's, and then it was the Silverstone F1 that weekend, but we couldn't go to the actual race because a mate of mine at McLaren, he could only organise for us, it was Saturday tickets for qualifying.
Okay.
So we only went to the qualifying. We didn't watch the main race,
So-
unfortunately.
Just for someone who's never been to an F1, the tickets, I know it's very particular, but do you get tickets for qualifying? Do you get tickets for the whole weekend? Like, how does it work getting into an event like that?
So it starts on Friday, then you go Saturday, Sunday. You can get tickets for individual days or you can get a weekend pass.
Okay.
But apparently, since last year already, the Sunday race day tickets were already sold out. So that's also why we couldn't go, because we couldn't, get tickets for that.
Oh, that's bad.
But luckily, a mate of mine at McLaren hooked up some Saturday tickets, so we watched the qualifying. But I
You
must,
have a friend at McLaren.
yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
Seems like you have friends in high places. Good to know.
yeah, I know. He's been working at McLaren for some years now. McLaren Technology Centre up in Woking.
Which is the most insane building.
Yeah, he also took us on a tour there, but I mean, that was literally on our last day that we were there. But, so yeah, it was Silverstone qualifying. I must actually touch on the experience because it was
Yes.
eye-opening, not necessarily in a good way.
Okay.
Because we got there, and obviously as soon as you arrive, and having never been there before, we don't know where to go, we don't know where to sit, we don't know where to view the cars. So we just obviously had a bit of a stroll around. And this took some time, a couple hours or whatever, but we only discovered that we had walked about a fifth of the track. And we've been walking for hours.
Word.
So we only stayed in one sort of small section of the track, which is only there by the entrance. We found it very difficult to find a place to actually watch them come past because we didn't have grandstand tickets. So you have to just sort of stand around. And everywhere that had good viewing was obviously all full because people who go there for many years know where to go, know where to sit for the best viewing.
So I suppose it's limited stands, and then you sort of just find a spot in the grass. Okay, if you're not on the stands. Okay.
Yes, yeah. Because grandstand tickets are separate.
Yes,
you have to
which
get
obviously
grandstand
would be
tickets.
super
Yeah.
expensive as well.
So we found a very hard time trying to find a decent spot for viewing, but then we eventually found a spot on the last corner where you could actually see quite a few of the cars, and there was a bit of action there. But I don't know, it was just, firstly, the F2 cars were louder.
That's interesting. But what engines do they have?
The F2?
Yes.
I'm not actually too sure about that.
Because I thought they were like older generation.
I know they're
F1 cars.
turbocharged, I think they've turbocharged 4-cylinders, but they were so much louder and just had more energy in them, and I don't know
That's
how to
interesting.
explain it, but the F1 cars were so muted, and I want to say more muted in real life than you see on TV. It's not that loud. It
That
really and
is very
truly is not
interesting.
that loud.
Because you would think in real life, like even though it's not a very characterful sound of a current F1 car, you would still think that in real life it's super loud and drony. But you're saying it's actually not.
It's not. It's very, very muted. I mean, you hear them come past, and it's still a good sound, but they're just not that loud. It's actually better to watch it on TV.
That is very interesting.
The-
Wow.
I've always dreamed of going to an F1, but now that I actually have been, I've sort of, I don't know, my eyes are just open because you can't walk the full length of the track, number one. You can't necessarily get a good viewing spot unless you have a grandstand ticket, and that's if they aren't sold out already. And your legs just get so tired from walking around that you actually don't care.
Yes. It's just
it's a bit of a
uncomfortable.
weird one.
Yeah.
Because we were very uncomfortable. Our legs were broken. We were broken. And at the end of the day, we just found ourselves like, when are we going home?
Yes. Which
I know
is so
that's
sad.
crazy to think about. But the best part about the F1 for me, I mean, look, I didn't do a race day, so I don't know what that's like. But the best part of that day for me was watching the drivers come in, because they all come in separate cars, and
Yeah,
you can
I saw
actually
that
watch them
video,
come in.
Yes.
Yeah, I did touch on it on my video, and then just the supercar car parks. That was it. That was all. That was all I found interesting.
So
And
everything
obviously,
outside of the event itself was the most interesting.
funny enough,
That is interesting. But I wonder if it's very race specific.
I think it is, because I think in Monaco you'd have a different time.
Yeah.
You'd have a completely different experience.
I had a friend who he works on the yachts. So the yacht he worked on last year, they parked like literally trackside for the Monaco Grand Prix.
As you do.
And you can imagine the experience those guys had, because not only are you now trackside, hearing all the cars, seeing all the buzz and everything that goes on, you are there, but there's probably a party ongoing on the yacht as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Of a lot of people just...
The thing about Monaco specifically, and it is one that I do want to experience, is because during that whole week of prep for F1, there's just hypercars and supercars roaming the streets, so you've got that to have a look at, and then you've got all the parties going around at the clubs and whatnot, and then you've got the actual race weekend, which you can engage with, which is quite nice, but then afterwards you've got the parties again, so there's always something to do. Whereas in Silverstone, you just go to Silverstone and that's it. Everyone disperses, because London's huge.
Yes.
So it's a bit different in Monaco, because everyone has to kind of stay in Monaco, so no one sort of leaves. So I think in that sense, Monaco would be a much, much better bet in terms of F1 than Silverstone. But Silverstone is like the crown jewel of F1.
Yes.
So it was good to experience that. But yeah, not the experience I was hoping for.
Okay. Another question I wanted to ask. So I can't tell you why, but in the shopping centre near where I work, they recently parked a brand new Red Bull F1 car.
Yeah.
But obviously it's like it's just
It's a demo
the
car,
body.
yeah.
It's not anything wonderful or real. But but I didn't realize the F1 cars are so big.
They're massive.
They are massive.
They are massive.
If you think of, I mean, what's a big car? Think of the length of an X7, BMW X7.
Yeah.
That thing's probably a bit longer.
Yeah.
So I didn't realize they are actually so big. And then the seating, the space where the guy actually has to get into the car, gives you a pretty good sense of how small those guys are.
Well, funny enough, when my mate took me for a tour at the McLaren Technology Centre, he let me get into Oscar Piastri's car.
Yes.
And that was an eye-opening experience because it just gives you because once you get in the car, firstly you're sort of sitting up like this.
Yeah.
And
which is like, how do you even move?
yeah, you're pretty much lying down, and once you're sitting in the position, you realize there's actually, because the bolsters by your head are right here, so you can't look left or right. You can a little bit, but not too much. But then once you're in that position, you kind of realize you don't know where your back is of the car. You don't know anything about that. You can't see anything.
It's not like you're sitting in a polo and
no.
look at your blind spot.
It feels massive, and it actually made me realize, like, geez, you really have to have exceptional spatial awareness to know what you're doing in that car.
Yes.
Because if you don't, you're going to mess it up. Especially in the first laps of F1 races, when they set off and then they come into the first corner. Like, how you manage that, I'd have no idea.
No idea.
Because that honestly opened up my eyes. Really, really, really did.
Because you obviously do have mirrors.
Yes, you do. But you can't see too much out of it.
It's not a big mirror. No, I think, like...
And also, with the halo now in place,
yes,
it actually does obstruct your vision quite a bit.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that they say with that piece in the middle, you sort of look past it. I mean, yes, you do, but I can't ignore it.
Yes.
It's still there.
Yes.
So, yeah, it was a really eye-opening experience, that one. Really glad that I got to do that.
Okay, so the F1 experience was pretty cool, but interesting to hear it wasn't what you expected necessarily. But tell me a bit about the rest of the trip. You said you went to McLaren, had a bit of a trip there, Goodwood Festival of Speed. Yeah, how was it?
Yeah, so after the F1 was actually a concourse event called Heaveningham's, which is actually it's a new sort of event that has popped up over the last 3 years in the UK, but it's really starting to pop off. I mean, this year they had a celebration of Le Mans, so this year marks 100 years, I think, of Le Mans.
Yes.
So they had like a whole lineup of classic Le Mans cars like F1 GTR, CLK GTR, and a whole host of others. So that was pretty special. And then they also have like a little bit of a hill climb where they see who can reach a top speed before the end. So they had a few cool cars got up there, like a SP3 Daytona Ferrari,
which is beautiful.
Absolutely stunning car, and he just did burnout after burnout after burnout. I mean, what a mad lad. They just built different there,
yes.
Those guys. So yeah, that was pretty fun. That was quite a big event that we did, and then after that we just did a bit of tourism, whatnot, in London. Just checked out the sites, saw a few dealerships, and did a bit of spotting. You know, just of course we were going to do that there.
Yes.
That was fun, and then we had Goodwood, which was the whole crux of this event. I mean, this trip.
Yeah.
So yeah, Goodwood was amazing. Oh, Goodwood was something truly special, because it's a 4-day event. Obviously this year they cancelled Saturday because of the weather, which is the first time it's ever happened in the whole history of Goodwood. But yeah, that was so special. I mean, we got to see the 2023 new car lineup, the Supercar paddock, I think it was called. Got to see all the new cars there, Bugatti Bolide, Pagani Utopia. I mean, geez, you can name it, it was there. But to see those cars go up the hill was truly special, because it just echoes throughout the whole event, the cars going past. I mean, you can... Oh, one thing about Goodwood that I actually do want to mention is that what you see online is not what is actually there at the event.
Okay.
In terms of what they show is just obviously the runs up the hill, which is all we really care about. But what opened my eyes up once we got there was that each manufacturer and like dealership and whatever has a stand, which was quite interesting, because I mean, you had hypercars just scattered over lawns and classic cars and whatnot, and it just proved that there was so much more to experience than you think. And out of the 3 days that we were there for the event, we actually still didn't see everything because the place is massive and there's just cars parked all over. It's impossible to get everything from that weekend out of your experience. So, yeah, no, that was truly, truly special. I mean, we got to see some pretty big names there. I mean, Chris Harris, Antonio Giovinazzi. I mean, he just won the 24 Hours of Le Mans, Ferrari for the first time in I don't know how many years. So that was pretty special to see him and meet him. There were a few cool guys there. But yeah, it was also really cool to just have that mix of hypercars, supercars, rally cars, F1 cars. I mean, pretty much any type of car that you love, it will be there. And that's why it's such a special event, because you don't need to be into all of that to be able to go. I mean, you can just bring the family along and just have a good time.
Yeah.
You know? But no, really exceptional event. I recommend it to anyone who's thinking of going and who has the means to do it. Really, really special event and a must do if you're a petrol head, that's for sure. That was the highlight of the trip, for me at least. Definitely the highlight. And then after Goodwood, what did we do? We just carried on around London. And then on our last few days there, we obviously had the McLaren Technology Centre tour. And that was also rather interesting because that place is so like quiet and everything about it just felt clinical.
Yes.
Not in a comforting way. It was just, I don't know, everything was just all smooth and, you know, there's hidden doors here and there and it's just, I don't know, it's hard to explain, but it felt like it was lacking something, like a personal touch. It just felt clinical, but I suppose that's how McLaren operates in terms of their supercars and F1 cars and whatnot. But it was cool to see where they work on Lando's car and Piastri's car, and then we saw some of the historic F1 cars in the back, and P1 GTR and McLaren Alva from a good client of theirs. That was pretty cool. It was a quick experience because I must be honest, there's actually not that much to see there.
Oh, okay.
There's just the F1 cars really, and then that was pretty much it really. It's not a big place. I mean, it is big, but in terms of what you can see, it's not very big.
Yes.
But that was on our second last day or something, but I didn't make a video about that because it just felt too short. So I didn't make a video on that. But everything else I pretty much tried to showcase on my DN Spots channel.
Yeah.
Which I must be honest, it didn't really get too much attention from my viewers because I understand that they're here for South African content. They're not here for international content.
Yeah.
So,
and they also do see the international content
elsewhere.
Like elsewhere.
Exactly. So for me to make it, it's nothing new, it's nothing special, but for me...
Obviously, it's like totally new.
Yeah, it's...
I
had to share it, though. If I didn't share it, I mean, yeah. I didn't go there specifically for the idea of making YouTube videos, but I mean, it's just nice to have that along as well.
Definitely.
But yeah, that was pretty much the trip. Trying to think if I missed anything from that trip. But I mean, yeah, other than that, it was astonishing. It really, really was. And something that I'm glad that we did. And I still look back on it today and think, wow, you know.
So I think my next question would be, we had a conversation a bit earlier about sort of the car scene and car culture in Cape Town, which obviously is where we live. So it's what we see and it's what we experience. But having that experience, sort of being in the mecca, you know, of the car scene, car community, of what you see on the socials and so on, like being in London, being in and around the events at Goodwood, like sort of the peak of what you can experience. Coming back, you probably had a bit of a, I don't know, drop of the heart coming back, being like,
you know,
I'm not going to see that in...
A lot of people have been saying this to me. Like a lot of my friends have been saying, "Oh, don't come back. Like you're just going to be so disappointed." And here's the truth of it. I fully expect to come back to what we had.
Okay.
I don't expect now to all of a sudden see all these amazing cars because it's just not going to happen.
Or to be missing those amazing cars.
I'm just coming to terms with reality.
Yeah.
It just is what it is.
Yes.
I'll always continue to make the content that I've made here. You know, you can't compare it. You just can't compare it. I did what I did in the UK. I've done it now. I'm happy. I've experienced it, and that's what I wanted to do. But now we're back here, and we continue to do what we've always done.
Yeah.
So that's sort of my ethos. Is just continue. Just don't stop.
Yeah.
Why should I be upset that we can't have what they have.
Yeah.
We have our own events and whatnot, but I mean, the car scene in Cape Town in general now has really died. It really and truly has. Ever since COVID, it's really taken a dip in Cape Town, which is quite sad because, you know, before you'd go out on the weekend or whatever, do a bit of spotting for a day, and you'd see like 20 or so supercars, whereas now you'd maybe see like 5 if you're lucky.
Interesting.
And it's just going to be like normal stuff like an Audi R8. Not that an Audi R8 isn't nice, but in terms of the excitement...
It's just a general,
So I truly believe the car scene has died in Cape Town. It's not that we're not getting cars. We're getting so many new cars and so many epic cars and so many special cars, but no one is driving them. And also events specifically in Cape Town have slowed down drastically. Now, I'm not sure if this is because of all the cop action that is happening with all the new bylaws that have come out with modified cars and whatnot. I don't know if they're just scared of the cops. I don't know what the story is, but...
It's too expensive to drive the cars because of the fuel prices.
No. I don't buy that.
That's probably not a thing when you own a Ferrari.
I don't buy that
when you have a Ferrari, when you own a Lambo, don't tell me.
When you want to drive that car, you put petrol in and you just go. You don't think about it. I don't think that that's a legitimate excuse, but it is what it is.
If you drive a Mark 1 Golf GT, okay, maybe not a Mark 1 Golf GTI. If you drive a City Golf, modified City Golf, or if you drive a lowered Honda Ballade or Fiesta ST, the fuel prices are going to affect you.
Yes, 100%. But I mean, that's not my niche, really.
Yes.
For DN Spots, I would say it kind of is because, you know, my audience loves tuner cars.
And it's also South African.
It's just a South African thing, I think.
It's just what we see.
Yeah. So I don't know what's going on there. I really hope that we can start building up these events now coming into spring and summer.
Yes.
So it'll be really interesting to see. But for the past, because the thing is with Cape Town is during November, December, January, that is the period where stuff just happens in terms of cars. So we usually expect around end of December or sort of middle of December a sort of influx of supercars because guys from Joburg, Durban, all over South Africa come and bring their cars here. So it's sort of like I don't want to compare it to Monterey Car Week, but you know, just everyone descends onto Cape Town.
Cape Town Car Week.
Well, there you go. It kind of feels like that, but last year and the year before that was actually fairly quiet in comparison to what I'm used to.
Which you would expect. Like last year was still COVID. Well, half of the year.
Fair enough.
So let's call it 2023 is the first year fully out of COVID.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah,
let's
you make
see
a good
if it restores November, December, Jan.
So, I mean, look, I have hope for this December because, I mean, look, don't get me wrong. As busy as I am, I still love to go out and spotting. That is still what I truly love to go and do. I mean, people might find that a bit weird, but I genuinely get a kick out of seeing these cars. It's honestly and truly my go-to passion. Cars
awesome.
are just everything for me. But yeah, I really have hope for this December. I mean, we'll see what happens. I really hope we can restore it a little bit.
Yes.
Because I mean, in Joburg and whatnot, they still have their events and they're still going strong. But in Cape Town, it's actually quite sad. It really is.
In Cape Town, you just have other stuff to do. In Joburg, it's not a lot.
Because the thing is, in terms of my YouTube channel, it's so hard for me to make content. Because I won't always have guys who are readily available to go out and do or shoot something. But in terms of like natural content, like the spotting and stuff like that, I can't do it anymore because I have tried, and every single time I try, nothing happens. So there's no content per se. So yeah, I'm struggling with that in the meantime. But I mean, we'll see how that goes sort of late into the year. But it doesn't put my spirits down with the channel or anything like that. I'll still continue to do what I'm doing. And the goal with these channels and pages and whatnot is just to showcase what we have and for people to just enjoy the car scene in South Africa because funny enough, I actually get a lot of comments on YouTube that say, you know, I didn't know this car was in South Africa. I never knew this car existed, or I didn't know that it was possible for something like this to be in South Africa. So it seems to be working. That's, you know, opening up some people's eyes as to what's in the country, or I have done at least. So I'm just trying to maintain that.
Yeah, that's good.
I have no real end goal for these channels or anything. I just want people to be happy and enjoy the content.
Yeah, I think One thing you did mention that made me think a bit was obviously coming back from London. It's not like you were heavily disappointed in what you see. You obviously just came back to reality. But I think, let's take supercars for instance. In South Africa, the amount of supercars and the quality of the supercars, like obviously, it's just not the same as the content you see from Europe and America.
Yeah.
But it also, for me, it's quite cool. I mean, I definitely don't go to as many events as you do when it comes to, like, I'm not so, because I don't live in Cape Town specifically, I'm not so in the car scene as you are, for instance. So for me, coming to a place like this, seeing the Ferraris, the Lambos, the sort of general cars overseas, seeing it here, it's still special for me. Even when you are going on a breakfast run or there's a certain event and, you know, a brand new Ferrari 296 pops up or whatever, it's, for South Africa, it's a special thing. It's a bit more common over there. So for us, it's actually, And then obviously on the other hand, the type of cars that we have, that's the custom, is obviously a modified car scene is quite big. Then we just have like random interesting stuff that people bring out. So that's what I quite like about the African car scene as well. It's very diverse. It's not just supercars and supercars all over.
100%.
I really enjoy meeting with people or seeing people with it. So my supercars is probably my area of expertise or of liking also.
Yeah, same.
But when I meet with people who are into old American cars or into like modified Japanese cars, like it's the most interesting conversations. Because I can tell you everything you need to know about the current range of Porsche 911s. Like you don't have, there's nothing you can teach me. But when it comes to classics, rally cars, Subarus, whatever, just the different stuff, there's a lot I can learn. There's a lot I can gain from having these conversations. So that is what really makes the South African car scene interesting per se. It's just the diversity.
No, I agree with that 100%. I mean, we obviously have a big modified scene here, but that's being cut down now by some of the new bylaws that are coming out. I don't know how effective it'll be, but I mean, we'll see how that works out. But I really do respect and love and enjoy the South African car scene, because it's sort of put me in this position that I am in now, and I couldn't be happier, you know.
Yeah, that's very cool. But I think something I'd also, well, let's touch on the elephant in the room, but we are surrounded by a bunch of pretty cool cars at the moment. So maybe you'd like to tell me about this place where we're at. What does it do? What kind of cars are we seeing around us?
Yeah, so this is Creative Rides that we're busy set up in. They deal in sort of classic cars, modern classics, and even into your supercars, but they come few and far between, but they're busy working on getting more of that. But I mean, this place is honestly, I mean, the place that the vibe that they've gone for here is sort of a man cave.
Yes.
I don't know if you feel that.
Very much.
But it's just a place that people can come, because the thing is, all these sort of nice showrooms and dealerships, in terms of third party, I'm not talking about Mercedes or, you know, they all in town or they all out of town. So this is sort of the first place in the southern suburbs, at least, that are sort of open to petrol heads, car enthusiasts, that they can just come and have a coffee, have a breakfast, whatever, and mill around, walk around, have a look at some nice cars. Because I mean, the showroom's constantly changing here. It doesn't ever stay the same. So it just gives some people just a bit of an escape in the southern suburbs if you enjoy cars.
We don't really have a lot of that compared to the dealerships you mentioned overseas, like Joe Macari and so on. Like a lot of those guys, that's all around London, you find these luxury car dealerships.
All over the place. But in Cape Town, it's few and far between.
Yes.
So it's nice that they've opened up this space here in the southern suburbs. I mean, I think they couldn't have done a better job. It looks fantastic in here. And then they also do the auctions. So there's an auction currently coming up this month or wherever, where They've got about 200 cars. I think it's the biggest car auction or classic car auction in South Africa that's ever happened. I'm not too sure if that's correct. I think
That
that's
is
correct.
pretty impressive.
But yeah, it's happening pretty soon, so that's going to be quite a big thing. But that's sort of the direction that they're trying to go through, is, you know, just trying to do more auctions and get more cars in, and just
Yeah. So you've had the opportunity to drive basically every single car in this place.
Yeah, pretty much.
Which is insane. And obviously the floor's changing the whole time. So there's a lot of it we don't see around us. But what have been some of the highlights of cars coming through this place, cars that you've had the experience to drive?
This place specifically, a really special one for me was an M4 GTS, BMW M4 GTS.
Yes.
So we had one come in for our past auction. Was it? Yeah, it was the auction. And I just essentially had to go and take it out for some pictures or whatever for their social media, and obviously had to drive it there. So took the car out, and I don't know, immediately it was just like, what is life right now? Because the M4 for me is just the ultimate sort of, how do I say, like, it's a hooligan car. Let's put it plain and simple. It's a hooligan car. I have a bit of hooliganism in me.
Yes.
So that just fits me. I just feel that car fits me and what I like to do with a car when I go out driving. Not necessarily say sliding about and doing burnouts and whatnot.
Yeah, I wanted to say, did you slide around with the M4 GTS?
No, didn't do that. But, I mean, traction obviously gets lost very quickly in that car. But in terms of just driving experience, that car's stock is just so loud and vicious, and I don't know, it's
visceral, like you hear everything.
Yes,
probably.
Exactly. Because it has a roll cage in the back and everything's stripped out, and your door cards are carbon fiber, so everything's like light and just raw.
Yeah.
So that was a really special experience for me to take out that car. That was a good one. What else? Well, not necessarily through this place, but before.
Yeah, tell me about some of the best drives you had.
So some of the best cars that I've ever driven. Well, I did actually get to drive my dream car.
Okay.
Well, let's call it a realistic dream car, because my actual dream car is a Pagani Zonda, and let's be real here. That's not going to happen. But yeah, my dream drive that actually happened was in a Lamborghini Aventador Roadster.
Oh my word! Did you drive? Or?
Yeah, I drove.
Okay.
Yeah. That was honestly special, because that for me is the best car in the world. The best car in the world. And not only that, the one that I drove had a straight pipe exhaust.
Well, you're probably never going to experience a car more crazy than that.
Yeah, I think the Aventador honestly is the pinnacle in terms of supercars. I think that is just the ultimate car.
I think when you think of supercar,
you think Lambo.
Yeah.
You just think Lambo. And the Aventador does it like no other Lambo. It's just the best car, in my opinion. It's just the amount of theatre that it gives off. You know, it's just so loud, it's extravagant, it's a beautiful color, it's crazy shapes and designs and edges. It totally blew my mind away when I took that car for a spin, because it just opened up my eyes.
So was this on a supercar run with other people?
No. So we're actually, funny enough, we were closing down the dealership.
Okay.
So we had to get rid of all the cars. Unfortunately, that's just something that happens.
Yes.
But through moving all those cars, I had to take it to the loading truck, because it had to get loaded up to go back to Joburg. So, I mean, I drove it from the dealership to the truck, and that was pretty much the drive.
Yeah.
Short but sweet. No, that was a very, very special one for me. And then what else have we driven that comes to mind? I mean, that yellow Camaro was quite fun.
Also, not a common car in South Africa.
No, not at all. And I mean, it's crazy, because the amount of looks that you get in that car, it's insane. I mean...
And do you think it's basically the equivalent of like a Polo GTI?
Yeah,
in America?
Yeah, exactly. People people couldn't believe it when they saw that car on the roads, especially being that yellow color, like Bumblebee from Transformers.
Yeah.
That was quite a fun one. And we also have a grey one lurking around somewhere. So that one's a manual, this one's an automatic, so the manual's quite fun. What else have we had a go in? 458 was nice, Ferrari 458, that was quite a special one.
Just nice.
Yeah.
Surely not just nice.
Okay, yeah, way more than just nice, because it made me realize why everyone loves that car so much.
Yeah.
it's the perfect supercar. There is nothing that you can fault that car on. So I really enjoyed that one. The sound was amazing. The looks were amazing. Just everything about it was just perfect, and I understood why people enjoyed it. But the same with 911s. I mean, people keep going on about how 911s are like the perfect driver's cars. And then once I got into one, I was like, okay, this makes sense.
They didn't lie.
Yeah. So, I mean, I understand the cult following, with 911s and 458s and whatnot because of those drives, which is quite eye-opening. But yeah, I mean, that's just off the top of my head, sort of the nice ones that I can think of. But in terms of rides, as in not driving, we had quite a cool experience because this is when I started DN Spots, and I just came out with like one merch line of hoodies or whatnot, and then one of the guys contacted me on Instagram saying, I want one, I want to buy one. And so I was like, okay, cool, I'll hook you up with one, let's meet at the waterfront or whatever, I'm going to do a bit of spotting anyway, so we can meet here. And
nice, making it personal.
Yeah, so we met up and we walked up. I don't know how this happened, but we just randomly walked up a parking lot, and at the top of the parking lot was a McLaren SLR next to a McLaren 720S, and we were just
that's
wow.
a very rare car.
Yeah, I mean the SLR. I think we only have 2 in the country, including that one. I don't know if that one's left back to the UK because it was from the UK.
Casually at the waterfront.
Yeah, they take it out once a year to the waterfront, and funny enough, we just happened to be there, and then we were just walking around the car, taking photos, as you do, and then the owners came up and you said, "Hop in."
Huh?
And we were like, I'm sorry.
Really?
And then he was like, yeah, hop in, come, we're going to go for a quick drive.
Oh my word, the timing.
Yeah, the timing was amazing. And also the fan who's now turned a friend, Matthew, he does Supercars Cape Town, he also managed to get into the 720S. So I hopped in the SLR and then he hopped in the 720S, because I first got in the SLR and then we were driving off because I don't know what happened to him. He was just taking a video or whatnot, and then the owner of the SLR said, tell him to hop in, get in the 720S. And I was like, oh, just pull over, let me tell him quickly. And he hopped in the 720S. It was his first supercar ride, I think it was. So
that's special.
That was quite a special day. It really, really was. And that car is just so loud and raw because that had the Mansory kit with the Rentec tune.
Oh my
so
word, that's really special.
It was fully done, that car, in terms of modifications. So, I mean, I couldn't have experienced a more crazier SLR, I guess.
Yes.
So that was a pretty special one. And then another one which happened, I think, when I started Supercar Den, or just before I started Supercar Den, like just before I started onto social media, I met up with this big-time car collector who's now sort of gone under the radar, but just to sort of lay low from all the attention, because he didn't like the attention that he got with the
Fair
cars.
enough.
Fair enough. He's off doing his own thing, which is fine. But he had a Lamborghini Aventador SV. At the time, it was the only one or one of 2 in the country. So it was a fairly big deal. I mean, that car was being shared all over social media constantly, because, I mean, that's what happens when a top car arrives in South Africa. It just gets
everyone
shared
knows about it.
Everywhere. So, yeah, he just messaged me one day on Instagram and said, meet me at Audi Centre, Cape Town, which was at the time at the V&A Waterfront. And I met him there, whatever, saw the car, because that was the first time I got to see the car, because I'd been dying to see it ever since I heard it arrived. And had a look around the car. He revved it a bit. Some flames came out. It was quite insane. And then he just,
as you do,
and then he just said, "Hop in," again. And then we went for a little spin around the waterfront, and that was honestly truly special. Because at the time, the Aventador wasn't like my all-time favorite car. At the time, I didn't quite understand the car, but I mean, after going in that, I think that's when the bug bit me for Aventadors.
I think there's, like, when you get into the position of being lucky enough to constantly drive these cars, your view changes. Like, then you start looking at how well the car drives, and how's the steering like, and the compliance of the suspension, and
100%.
you sort of go into the detail and all of the different components, and you get to sort of have a good feel of the car. Like, we listen to all of these videos, or look at all these videos from Chris Harris or whoever.
But you also get to understand cars with power.
Yes.
Because some people can't grasp that.
Yes, they're like 700 horsepower, 800 horsepower. For us, it's like, oh, okay.
You just have to keep a level head with that. That's all it is. You just have to keep a level head and never ever put your foot flat to the floor.
Yeah, but I think it's the point I wanted to make is I think it's different when you have the ability to constantly be driving those cars, and when you're only hopping in them once or twice. Like then you get to experience the sort of, I don't know, that childish experience, child dream experience of being in a supercar, and you get to enjoy all of the theater. And that's where Lamborghini, there will not be a better supercar than that to experience
100%.
like all of those feels. But it's different when you start driving those cars regularly. Then you're like, oh, okay, well, actually the transmission sucks, and I don't really like how stiff it is.
You start nitpicking.
Then you start sort of nitpicking, and you realize, but actually I like this car more, or whatever.
It makes you realize what you enjoy more in terms of driver experience.
Yes.
Which is quite nice.
Yeah.
That's really opened it up for me, you know, being around these cars and driving them and whatnot. It's shown me, you know, okay, I don't like this, I like this. What you think you like, you don't like.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Just to wrap up, I want to know, what is the dream car experience for you? What is the dream drive? What car, what road, or what road trip, or what event, or what's the dream car experience? You've experienced Goodwood Festival Speed now. You've got to be at Silverstone F1. Obviously, there's other F1s as well, which you can go to. But it doesn't have to be this extravagant thing, just personal to you. What's that dream car experience?
In all honesty, I mean, I mentioned earlier that my all-time favorite car is a Pagani Zonda, that being unrealistic. But, you know, I think it would be a drive or a passenger ride in that car. Any Pagani Zonda, doesn't have to be a specific one, I don't care, because that to me is the ultimate car in the world. I love that car to death. I think any experience in that car would be pretty sweet. But it's hard to pinpoint, because I think, you know, if you could get into like a Lamborghini Aventador or some sort of Lambo and go, you know, down the streets of Italy or something, I think that could be quite fun. But I mean, I have always also wanted to do car week. So maybe, you know, going in a nice car during car week and just experiencing that. But I mean, I must be honest, I don't have anything specific, but I mean, a Pagani Zonda drive would be the best thing in the world to me, in all honesty. I can't think of anything better than that. I really, really can't. You know, maybe we can make that happen one day. I don't know.
Listen, I've heard of so many people say that's not going to happen, and then it does. So,
well, that's the
with
funny
the experience you've had in the past couple of years, people you've met, drives you've had, it doesn't sound too unrealistic for me.
Yeah, you see, that's what I was going to say. It's like, there was a point in time where I thought, you know, I'm never going to drive a Ferrari. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
You know, and having driven now like 10, it's like,
well,
you know, I'm here now.
Look at me. Yeah.
So it's hard to say what is and isn't possible, but I mean, a Pagani Zonda is a bit of a stretch. But yeah, I mean, we see where it takes us.
It'll come.
Yeah.
Listen, Brad, I want to thank you.
No, thank you.
It has been
man.
a pleasure. It has been such a good chat. I'm definitely keen to chat some more in the future as well. But thank you as well for joining and listening. I'm so excited to continue this journey. It's been a while, but we'll be on the air and in front of the camera for a bit longer now. So I really hope you enjoyed it. And as I previously ended off my podcast, rather love cars because it's better than drugs.
No, 100%. Agreed.
Cheers.